August 5th, OpenAI drops GPT-OSS 20B and rekindles the open-source debate. 2 weeks later, DeepSeek AI quietly publishes DeepSeek v3.1, no press, just a tweet and a download link. The result, a sudden head-to-head clash between two open models. One from a household name, one from an under-the-radar Chinese startup. For developers, open source means freedom, inspect, modify, prune, and run models locally, but also trade-offs in safety, polish, and hardware needs. Today we lay out the tests, the failures, and why one model currently owns the space, and what that means for you. We cover coding, creative writing, non-math reasoning, safety, customizability, and a practical verdict. Links and test prompts are in the GitHub repo. We used identical prompts for both models. We also played DeepSeek's demo on itch.io and ran real coding and reasoning benchmarks locally. Here's what worked, what failed, and who should use which model today. If you plan to run models locally, pay attention. We cover hardware and quantized options later. OpenAI framed GPT-OSS 20B as democratizing AI, a 20 billion parameter model intended to run on consumer hardware. They positioned two lines, a massive flagship model for cloud-scale tasks, and a 20B variant for hobbyists and researchers. DeepSeek AI released v3.1 with a single tweet, no press release, no fanfare, and it landed a hybrid thinking architecture. Open source success isn't about launch day. It's about community attention and follow-up iterations. Even a consumer 20B model can need high-end GPUs or careful quantization to run well. Locality buys control but demands resources. Two critical dials, token context window and reasoning effort, both tied to your hardware limits. Open source gives inspection and modification, but also exposes rough edges and weaker default safety compared to closed models. Community-driven pruning and specialization is the competitive advantage that often wins long-term. We ran identical prompts for both models, one-shot, zero-shot tests, and practical demos you can reproduce. Next, the coding benchmark, the most unforgiving category for models. Prompt, build a minimalist 2D stealth maze game. Robot, roaming journalist, glowing AGI objective, game over on detection. Requirements were specific. We ran each model once, zero-shot, and evaluated functionality and polish. DeepSeek v3.1 produced working, bug-free game logic on the first pass. UI was basic, but the foundation worked. We compiled and played the result on itch.io. The robot, AI patrols, and level progression behaved as specified. OpenAI's GPT-OSS 20B struggled. High reasoning timed out after 21 minutes with no output. Medium reasoning returned broken, unusable code. It failed both slowly and quickly. The result, no playable build from the stock 20B in this test. Result, DeepSeek wins the coding round on first-pass functionality. For pure coding benchmarks, other models like GLM 4.5 performed well too. Takeaway, open-source models vary. Execution beats brand on practical code generation. Remember, open-source models can be iterated quickly. Pruning, prompt engineering, reasoning mode tweaks change outcomes dramatically. Quantization and specialized forks often bridge the gap between impressive capabilities and consumer hardware constraints. Next, we tested storytelling, mystery reasoning, and sensitive topic handling. These categories reveal different strengths: voice, continuity, and human-centered responses. Onward. Prompt: a historian from 2150 travels to 1000 AD to prevent an ecological disaster but instead causes it. Write a short narrative with clear paradox. We ran both models zero-shot and compared imagery, voice, and narrative logic. DeepSeek produced vivid imagery, air described as a thick broth of loam, and precise paradox mechanics that connected actions to consequences. The arc made sense. Character reactions and cultural context were consistent. GPT-OSS 20B went philosophical. Elegant language but muted stakes, abstract climax, and continuity gaps. Example: characters inexplicably recognize languages and roles without grounding, a sign of shallow world-building. Reasoning test: a winter trip where students go missing. Who is the stalker and how was it solved? DeepSeek solved the mystery using a coherent, small chain of thought, correctly deducing motives and method. GPT-OSS 20B often overthinks. It consumed its entire context thinking without producing answers, or returned incorrect conclusions when constrained. We tested how each model handles sensitive, ethically charged prompts. OpenAI's model defaulted to terse refusals. I can't help with that. DeepSeek refused but offered context, harm reduction, and resources. DeepSeek displayed higher emotional intelligence. It reframed, gave immediate coping strategies, and suggested long-term help. For storytelling and human-centered responses, DeepSeek currently outperforms the OpenAI 20B base. That said, specialized pruned versions of GPT-OSS 20B could catch up in niche domains quickly. Quick summary. DeepSeek, better first-pass writing, reasoning, and empathetic safety. GPT-OSS 20B, stronger math in some forks, large community potential. Next, how customizable each model is and what it takes to run them locally. We tested quantized builds, community forks, and ran both models on PC-class GPUs where possible. OpenAI's 20B quickly attracted pruned, specialized forks for law, math, health, and red teaming. Trading size for domain excellence. Developers have already produced base model variants, even removing instruction layers for low-level fine-tuning. DeepSeek's team and community have produced 2-bit quantized builds of larger models, letting full parameter sets run on lighter hardware. Pruning sacrifices parameters to specialize. Quantization sacrifices precision to preserve capacity. Choose by use case. With local models, you control the context window. Bigger windows let the model read entire books. Smaller windows limit short-term memory. Because these dials are tunable, standard benchmarking becomes less meaningful. Performance depends on your configuration. If you want a smooth experience, budget for high VRAM GPUs or use cloud inferencing credits. For experiments, try quantized local builds. Decide, do you need full parameter fidelity, fast iteration, or minimal cost? That determines whether DeepSeek's quantized route or GPT-OSS 20B forks are right for you. Community attention shapes which model improves fastest. It's not always the technically best model that wins, it's the one developers rally around. Right now, OpenAI's 20B benefits from quick prunes, DeepSeek benefits from strong baseline performance. Final conclusions and recommended next steps for developers are next. We'll summarize who should pick which model today and why. Verdict: stock DeepSeek v3.1 currently outperforms OpenAI's GPT-OSS 20B in first-pass writing, reasoning, and helpful safety responses. Why? DeepSeek arrives more polished out of the box. GPT-OSS 20B is a strong foundation that needs community pruning to shine. If you need immediate practical performance, DeepSeek. If you want a sandbox for niche specializations in pruning, GPT-OSS 20B may be the better long-term bet. Choose DeepSeek for writing, empathetic responses, and robust zero-shot reasoning. Choose GPT-OSS 20B if you need a fast-growing ecosystem for specialized forks and math-focused pruned versions. Practical steps: pull the GitHub repo, try the itch.io demo, test quantized builds, and monitor community forks. Reproduce our tests locally with the same prompts. Tweak context size and reasoning effort to match your hardware. Caveat: give community-driven models 6 months. Pruned derivatives can quickly surpass stock releases in specific fields. History shows community momentum drives massive improvements. Llama, SDXL, and others followed this path. Short summary: DeepSeek owns the current stock offering. GPT-OSS 20B is a promising base that the community will likely elevate. Links to the code, the stories, and the demos are in the description. Run the tests yourself. If you found this useful, like and subscribe for more reproducible open-source model reviews. Tell us which model you want profiled next. Thanks for watching. Check timestamps in the description for each test, and see the GitHub for full prompts and outputs.